guys, Pandy here of Pandy's Hair Candy and More, as well as the Simply Pandy Show, coming through with tonight's recap and review of season 14, episode 2, Real Housewives of Atlanta. So, tonight's episode was actually titled All Aboard the Gaslighting Express. So, you already know from the title that things were going to be a little bit intense, and they really were. But I swear these episodes are shortened by the amount of commercials. But I digress. Let's jump right in to tonight's episode, and I'm going to just go ahead and give you my commentary and my recap and see what you all's thoughts are. So, if this is your first time stopping by my channel, welcome. And if you are already chat family with me, welcome back. I appreciate the support. So, if you find that you enjoy this commentary, please make sure that you blow dry on that like button for me, as that greatly helps with the way the content is shared in the YouTube algorithm. And be sure to subscribe and double tap that notification bell so that you are notified each and every time that new content is added to the channel. Again, this is free 99. There is no charge to do so. Now, without further ado, let's go ahead and get into tonight's episode. Again, this is the Real Housewives of Atlanta on Bravo. We are in season 14, episode 2, titled All Aboard the Gaslighting Express. So, in tonight's episode, the episode pretty much begins with us over at Sanya's house, where we see her mother, and her sister are pretty much unpacking still because they're new to the ATL. And she literally has 9 people living there with her, her husband, and her son. Now, what I didn't realize in episode 1 that she shared tonight is that her mom is actually her manager and that her sister is the hairstylist. They're a large Jamaican family. So, very large family, close knit. And of course, when you have that amount of people in the house, there is going to be a little bit of tension. But for the most part, it seemed like it was a lot of love going on there. And Sanya shared that, she wants them there for at least a year because she relies heavily on them for assistance with her child care with her son, as well as, just to assist with things around the house because both she and her husband have a very busy lifestyle. So, next, we are over at the chateau, which we all know is Sheree's home. Now, over at Sheree's home, we see her mother Thelma, are in the kitchen there, and they're preparing for a visit from Miss Kenya. Now, the chateau is absolutely all that. It is very, very nice, very chic, very couture. Now, if you remember a few seasons ago, when the chateau was still being built, and then Kenya had also announced that she was going to be moving into the same neighborhood. Sheree had a shindig over at the chateau, but the chateau was not completely finished yet. And of course, during that episode, Kenya Moore crept downstairs to the basement and made a whole big spectacle about how the basement was completely unfinished. And remember, all those awful, horrendous scenes came out about how the basement was completely unfinished. It was like rolls of carpet everywhere, paint cans, and everything. So, of course, Sheree could not wait for Kenya to get there today because she definitely wanted to take her behind downstairs. She mentioned it in her confessional. So, of course, naturally, this was the first place that she took Kenya to once she arrived. And yes, it was extremely gorgeous. I mean, beautiful. It was set up very chic, very couture. All of the designs and the room arrangements, it was just absolutely gorgeous. So basically, Kenya had to give her props and tell her that it looked absolutely amazing. It was like a woman cave. You know how guys have man caves? It was like a woman cave, very bougie, very cute. And they sat down over wine and hors d'oeuvres, of course. And as they sat down, they immediately began critiquing Marlo's gala. That was in last week's episode. The opening of, what was it called? La Archive. So they're doing that, and then they call another lady, and I couldn't quite tell who it was that they had on the phone. But during this conversation with the three of them, they began to further shade Marlo's event. Okay, and in addition to all that, they also began to talk about how Sheree and Drew actually share an assistant. So Drew was completely thrown off guard by this because apparently she didn't know. So Kenya shares that Kandi basically spilled the tea to her that Drew has been telling her, meaning Kandi, that the assistant that they both share has been spilling tea on Sheree. And it's apparently making her feel a bit uncomfortable because he's been sharing information that she does not necessarily feel like she should even be privy to. So Sheree is like, okay, that's interesting because I rarely use the assistant. They also share that there's a lot going on over there at Drew's house with her husband and his assistant. So that was pretty much going on over there at Sheree's chateau. Next, we see later on over at Ralph and Drew's crib. They're outside working out poolside. I believe the assistant was there. No, matter of fact, I'm jumping ahead, guys. They are having dinner. And of course, remember last week I shared that she was trying to pitch her meal prep idea for a business launch to Kandi and Sanya, being that Kandi has the chain of restaurants and Sanya is this ex athlete. So they were having some of the food for dinner, and basically, the family was, letting her know that they thought it tasted great and all that good stuff. So, she basically asks what he thought of Todd. And basically, he shares that they got plans to meet up and kind of have drinks and kind of get to know each other better. Well, she also decided to share with him after dinner that basically Kandi shared the last time they met that he has apparently been spotted on IG post that he's still actually communicating with the assistant. So she pretty much confronts him and asks him about it, and he doesn't look too happy. But he does fess up and tell Drew that, listen, I fired the lady, but I mean, I do still communicate with her. He also tries to downplay it and goes on further to state that, the woman is over 50 years old. He's visibly irritated by being questioned by his wife about this assistant. He does not like this line of questioning. Now, in her defense, I don't know why he's even mentioning the 50 thing because I can tell you there are plenty of hot 50-year-old women out here who got it going on way more than any young girl. So that's not even an excuse, but I digress. Now, he also shares with her that he has a lot of resentment for her, for which she was pretty much obviously shocked to hear about as well. Okay. Next, we kind of see they just do a quick flash on the ladies. We see Marlo looking like she's busy at La Archive, kind of selecting new pieces with her managers. We also see a quick clip of Kenya spending some quality time with her daughter. And then we also see a quick clip of Sheree, her mom, and her daughter just kind of chilling and having some family time as well. So then we head on over to Kandi and Todd's house. Now, this is where it gets interesting, guys, because over at Candy's house, she pretty much gets a call from one of her co producers, and they're just talking shop talk about one of her Broadway plays. She does these Broadway productions, and it's a venture she's been working on for a little while, but it's a new adventure. So of course there's a little bit of risk associated with it, and with anything new like that, it's going to require a lot of your time. So you have to keep in mind that Kandi is still a newlywed. So Todd walks in as she's on speakerphone with the producer, and of course, he's happy for her. And, she shares with Todd after she gets off the phone, that basically the the play is taken off. She's getting mixed reviews from the critics, but she also shares with Todd that she's going to be required to travel back and forth from Atlanta to New York, and that she pretty much wants him to be on board and traveling with her because she's going to be there for different spurts of time. Todd is clearly not interested in that at all. Now, she also mentions to him that, listen, I'm going to be traveling to New York for work, but you're going to be going to Miami. What's that for? What are you going to be doing in Miami? And he kind of gives her this interesting look and responds to hang out. Now, guys and girls, that is never a good thing. Like, my spidey senses went up because that sends immediate red flags when a married couple is kind of traveling and spending time away from each other like that. So I feel like in that particular scene, Kandi was, kind of reaching out to her husband to say, hey, the bag, basically the money is taking me here, and I want you to be here with me. And he's like, nah, I'm going over here and I'm going to be kicking it and hanging out. So I thought that was pretty interesting. It was duly noted, okay? So they continue on talking about that for a little bit, and she didn't look too thrilled with his response. Now, in that conversation, we further learn that Todd actually still has a condo back in Jersey that he purchased apparently 20 some odd years ago with an ex of his. And he retorts, that his name ain't on this current house. Now, mind you, the whole time they're talking, the camera is panning around the room. They got several boxes that still need to be unpacked. The house is just kind of out of order. Like, it wasn't messy or anything, but it was very cluttered. And Kandi kind of shared in her confessional that she's like the queen of unfinished projects. They then go down to the pool area. There's boxes everywhere that still need to be unpacked. And the pool looks like maybe some contractors started working on it, but definitely did not finish it. So this kind of went on to further speak volume to where their relationship is at. So I'm just really curious to kind of see what this season's storyline kind of has in store for these two, because this just seems a bit red flaggish, but we shall see, right? So next, we then head on over to Marlo's house. And no, I'm sorry, we head over to Candy's Halloween photo shoot where Marlo comes in, and they kind of sit down and they talk about a little bit about the gala and the turnout, and they're just kind of bonding. And this is where Marlo shares that, she feels like she wants Kandi to kind of help her, give her a little bit of advice with raising her nephews. Now, she also confides in her that, her upbringing was definitely nothing like the lifestyle that she's able to provide for the nephews that she's currently raising while their mother, who I believe is her sister, is locked up. Um, she explains that she grew up in the project. She remember having the roller set, going to the prom or whatever dance it was that she went to, and she just is looking for a more supportive relationship. She wants a little bit more involvement from Kandi with the boys. Like, how come you don't never invite the boys over to hang out, to kind of have family time so they can kind of see what it's like to be around family. And Candy's a bit standoffish because her and Marlo haven't always been on the greatest terms. But at the end of the conversation, Candy's chill. She was open to it. Okay? So next, we go back to Drew's house where her and Ralph are actually working out again. And Ralph tells her that he wants her to keep her schedule clear as a way to kind of mend their earlier clash, right, from the dinner previously. He tells her he wants to do something romantic. So next we see Todd showing up at Blaze, which is one of him and Candy's restaurants, and he's there basically waiting to meet with the fellas for drinks. So Ralph and Sanya's husband, Ross, arrive, and they appear to be getting acquainted. They're just doing what the fellas do, and Ross kind of shares with the guys that he really wants another child with his wife. And of course, Todd immediately addresses the elephant in the room, which is Drew's husband, Ralph. He basically tells Ralph that basically Candy's been sharing about this whole assistant situation. Like, what's up with that? And bloop, wouldn't you know it, Ross actually chimes in talking about me too. So basically, his wife has been sharing about the situation as well. So Todd basically says, something along the lines about hearing that the text message was kind of like something along the lines of the assistant mentioning that he needed a massage, and he mentions he couldn't get a massage, and she mentions, well, she could come give it to him, and him responding to her that, no, I'm a guy, LOL. So they all kind of joke and kiki about it because what does that literally mean? You all do the math. I know what it means to me. It means, nah, I'm not really trying to cross them lines because, nature could take its course and things could lead to other things. That's the way I took it. But I digress, okay? So they're kind of talking about that. And in their conversation, they show Ralph in the confessional, and he pretty much shares that basically Drew shouldn't be going through his phone. Okay? Ross also kind of shares and opens up in this conversation over drinks that, they're basically nine deep at his crib. But remember, he wants another child. Now, he's cool with the fact that Sanya's family is there from Jamaica because he mentions, listen, I've been married, I've been with this girl for 18 years. Her family is my family. I'm cool with them being there. That's not the issue. But what I do think is the issue is he wants another child. And so obviously when you have that many people in the home, there's going to be intimacy issues because how can they have intimacy with all those people? You got her sister, her husband, their children, um, the dad, the mom, and them and their kids. So it's a lot going on, okay? Todd also shares, since everybody's sharing basically about the whole condo situation. And they're just like, wow, Kandi, of course, doesn't want anything to do with it because she's like, that was something you purchased with the ex. And I feel her on that. Like, no, I'm good. So back at Marlo's, Her husband wife duo management team are there, and they're there with her and the boys, and it's becoming more clear that Marlo is really relying on them pretty heavily as well to kind of assist with the raising of the boys. So they're there kind of having some jokey moments, kind of having some family time, and they're getting prepared with one of the boys. I believe it was the older boy, I can't remember his name, for a homecoming dance. So, of course, here she shares a little bit about her humble beginnings, like I said, the projects and wanting to basically create memories for him. So, she gets some nice photos of him coming down the stairs with his suit on and, just making it a moment and a vibe and really create memories, okay? And this is when we notice that this is Marlo really wants to be she wants to be successful in this momty role, okay? So and she's taking it very seriously, and I think that's an amazing thing, and I think she really is trying hard to be successful. Okay, next we are back at Drew's house. Okay, Drew comes to the door. She's in this beautiful gold sequined gown. It's a short gown, beautiful gold shoes, and her assistant, no, I believe her husband's assistant shows up at the door basically and tells her he's there to escort her out to meet up with Ralph. Now, they take this limo, one of these fancy car. Well, it wasn't a limo. I forget what type of car it was, but basically it was a chauffeur driven ride to the location that Ralph was at. It turns out they were at his tailor showroom, so she's a bit taken aback because it wasn't a traditional restaurant or anything. But they go back into an outside area, and it is absolutely amazing. It is completely decked out. He tells her this is his tailor's showroom. There are candles everywhere, rose petals, a table for two, and they sit down at the table, and he pretty much reassures her that he wants to get things on the right path. They apologize to each other, and they appear to have a very healthy conversation. When a waiter arrives with dinner and drinks, and he shares in their conversation that he feels like they should perhaps explore additional marital counseling. And then, just like that, guys, things go completely left. It's like they're in competition with one another. They're repeating what the marriage counselor has said kind of negatively about the other. When she walks off tearful, like she's bawling, she's crying. And then she comes back, and then he walks off and states that, he feels like this whole date night was a complete mistake and he should have never did it. So I'm a bit concerned about them. They have serious issues with communication, right? And of course, in true Bravo fashion, guys, this is where tonight's episode ends. So, what are your thoughts? Did you guys see tonight's episodes? Drop down in the comments below and let me know what you think. Until next time, guys, please stay safe, stay encouraged, and I will see you all in the next video. Peace.